Over the last 3 years, I went from being a broke college kid to now making over 6 figures as a product manager at Forbes. Today, I'm going to break down the system that I use to get a 6-figure skill set and how you can do the exact same for 2024. Before we jump into the exact system, I want to break down the why behind the system. The reason that getting a high value skill set is so important, it's the only way to increase your income, especially with the way the technology is working. With the advent of AI and everything moving to the digital economy, it's becoming harder to get paid more for the work that you're doing. One of the easiest ways to get paid more is to become more valuable to your employer, to your clients, and to your customers. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to increase your skill set. These are tangible skills that you can use and that you can market and have a high ROR for any employer or business you're working for. These are skills like SEO, UX design, coding, content writing, and social media marketing. That's by no means an exhaustive list, but these are some of the most high in demand skills that can earn you a big paycheck raise in 2024. The first thing I did to learn a high income skill was pick which skill was right for me. I think there's 4 main ways you can do this. The first is deciding what the valuable skill is. So how valuable is it? How much can we get paid for it? The second is market demand. How many people are actually in need of this skill? The third is scalability. How easy is it to do? How much leverage can we get from the skill? And the fourth is just your personal interest in it. Starting with value, we're obviously shooting for any skill that can get us over $100,000 per year. Some popular ones that come to mind are SEO, product management, UX design, social media management, and content writing is another big one that's going on right now. So all of those skills are able to get you over $100,000 per year in income. There's a list that'll be linked down in the description. You can check it out. So the second is market demand. As I just mentioned, you can head over to Upwork to kind of see what the highest grossing freelance jobs are. But this is where you're going to gauge how valuable it is to businesses to be able to get and find this skill. You can go to places like Fiverr, Upwork. These are all places that look for experts or freelancers in a given industry. It can give you a sense of how demand heavy your skill is in the market. The third aspect we want to look at when picking our skill is how scalable is it? So something like contracting is a highly valuable skill set. It's going to net you easily in the 6 figures for work, but the problem is it's super intensive. You need materials, it's location driven. You can't really do many contracting jobs at once unless you hire staff, which again makes it less scalable. Digital skills like SEO, copywriting, content creation, social media marketing, UX design, all of these skills are highly scalable because you could do it from anywhere with a laptop and you can deliver a lot of different projects in a small amount of time just based on the nature of the work and the lack of resources needed to actually get the job done. So scalability is something else we want to consider when deciding what skill we actually want to go with. The last factor we want to look at is your personal interest level. Obviously, whatever skill you go with, you would hope that you're going to be actually interested in doing it so that you're able to do it for a longer period of time and be able to put the time in to actually master that skill. If you're someone who's more of a creative, you can look at content creation, social media management, content writing, copywriting, UX design. These are all more creative fields that might get your creative juices flowing, and that'll keep you engaged for a longer period of time. If you're someone more interested in tech, you can also look at UX design because there is a bit of a tech demand for that. You can look at coding, you can look at website building, you can look at automation services for businesses. That's a big one going on with the AI boom right now. There's a lot of automation and AI tools that businesses don't know how to use, and you could step in and be able to help them be more efficient in their business by showing them some tools that you might be interested in based on your technical background. So these are all things that can help you zone in on what skill you want, what you're good at, and what the market needs. Now that we picked what high income skill we want to go after, now we need to go through the process of learning it. The first place to go to is YouTube. You hit YouTube, you search your topic, spend 10 to 20 hours watching every video you can on the 101 type introduction style videos that are going to educate you on the general scope of the skill. It's going to get you to understand the terminology, the function of it, where it fits in businesses, what the value proposition is, and how you actually go from 0 to 1 in terms of acquiring that skill. Once you put in the time to understand that, you want to refine your learnings by taking notes, looking at blog posts, doing some more in-depth research on specific topics to really understand the what, the who, and the how of whatever industry you're looking to get a part of. Once we have that accomplished, we want to start a mini project on the side. If it's something like SEO, you can start your own little website. You could do like a teardown of basically doing organic research for an existing website, but anything that you can do to get your feet wet to be able to start applying some of the principles that you've been learning is a great way to start to solidify some of those early learnings into your brain and get you more ready to take on the advanced topics. Now we want to go to social media platforms like Twitter, now called X. You can stay on YouTube as well, Instagram, TikTok, whatever social media platform you use, Go there, search the topic, and find 5 to 15 of the top players in the space and start to really understand what they're looking at, what their skill set is, and how they're applying that skill in their everyday life. These are the niche players that are going to get you more ahead of the curve. They're going to show you what the emerging trends are. They're going to show you the best practices. They're going to show you what's working, what's not working. And by following their content, you're going to immerse yourself in the ecosystem and community of thought leaders that's going to get you deeper on the topic. And you're going to be able to draw on this as you start to get more refined in your understanding and start to apply this on a larger scale. Once you solidify that base skill, you want to dive into books. You want to look at the bigger industry that your skill is a part of. So SEO can really fall under growth marketing in general, or even a bit of product development. So any of those industries would be good places to start to understand where your skill fits in the macro of business. So if you're looking at sales, obviously it's going to fall under like the sales or the growth of a business. How are you actually going to get more deals done? How are those people operating? How do they affect the bottom line? If you're something like design, UX design, you're going to look at product development, product management. How does that fit into the overall product strategy of a business? How are you affecting end user results with your skill? These are all valuable things to know, because whenever you're positioning yourself, whether you want to be an employee or an entrepreneur, understanding how your skill fits in the macro environment of the business is always going to make you seem more knowledgeable. It's going to let you be more effective in your job, and you're just going to come across as genuinely more valuable to whatever your end prospect is. And the great thing that I love about learning skills is that you can repeat that process over and over again for new skills, the same skill, and get yourself even deeper. So once you understand the fundamentals of something like design or SEO, you can then go back and understand, okay, how does like behavioral design work, or how does PPC work, like using pay-per-click for SEO strategies. Like all of these things can kind of nurture your experience and get you deeper and deeper on the topic and just increase the value of your inherent skill set. Now that we've picked a skill, learned it, we're going to enter phase 3, which is build your experience. This was by far the most pivotal thing I did in my career and my life to this point, which was not relying on someone else's permission. I felt when I first graduated college, when I was looking for new jobs, when I was trying to upgrade my income, I felt stuck because I needed someone else's permission to get me to the next level. I needed someone to give me a promotion. I needed someone to give me an internship to learn a new skill. It felt like I was always coming to a wall where I needed someone else's permission to demonstrate my knowledge. Then when I learned a digital skill, I realized that I could apply that skill without someone else's permission. I could start my own projects, start my own side hustles, demonstrate my actual knowledge of the skill, and then leverage that to get someone's permission. I started my own website. I got it to start ranking in Google, and that's what ultimately landed my first job at Forbes. It was built upon that experience that I was able to show my knowledge, I was able to show my understanding of the industry, and I was able to point to tangible results. As you get higher up in business, as you want to increase your income, you need to be able to point to results. Hard sets of data, hard results, hard facts that show I did what I said I was going to do. I know what I'm talking about. So how do you exactly build your own experience? It's going to depend on the skill, but if it's a digital skill, you can start right away by building your own mock projects. If it's SEO, start a website, start getting it ranking, start creating content for it. If it's social media management, start building your own personal brand, start putting content out all the time, grow your following, show businesses that you're able to you have the skill of acquiring an audience and building attention. If you want to do design work, you can hop into Figma, create mock prototypes. All of this is possible with digital skills. Take an existing business, maybe one you would even want to work for. So for example, again, if I was going back in time and I wanted to work for Forbes, I could do an audit of Forbes' website, come up with a list of 3 to 5 things that I would change for the strategy, then build out a mock content strategy for the part of the site that I wanted to upgrade. And then that's my first point of building my own experience. It doesn't necessarily have to be for yourself. You can do it for another company and just use it to build a portfolio of projects that you use to apply the learnings that you've just done over the past several weeks and months. Another great way that you can do this is hopping into ChatGPT and creating like a mock exercise for yourself. I'll link to the prompt down below, but you can basically go into ChatGPT and say something along the lines of, I'm a UX designer. I'm looking to build a mock portfolio of projects. Can you give me 3 to 5 app ideas that would need a UX designer to come in and design the interface for that app? It'll give you like 3 scenarios. It can outline the problems. It can outline the end user goals. It can basically give you a brief, something similar to what your future employer or future client might give you to be able to do the work. It'll basically do it for you. So all you have to do is go in and actually build the product, build the project and you don't even have to think about, all right, what would an employer want me to do? What would a client want me to do? It can basically all be done for you through AI, and then you can focus on actually building out your own project. All right, so now that we built our own experience, this is the best part, getting paid. So obviously if you're watching this video, you made it this far, you wanna get paid. You want money for your service. You want money for your skill. You want money for your value. To be able to do that, we can take one or two routes. We can go the employer route, which is you end up working for a company to use that skill, or you can go more the entrepreneurial route, which is selling that skill as a service. These two tracks are gonna totally depend on your given circumstances and your risk tolerance. So if you want the less risky option, get a job, get a regular 9-to-5 that needs that skill or that values that skill, start applying it, start learning it. You can either move up the corporate ladder or you can eventually jump off and start your own thing. If you have more risk tolerance or you're in a position where you can take a bigger risk, you can try to start your own agency or try to start your own basically freelancing business around that skill. What this would look like is if you're doing something like SEO, design, coding, whatever it is, you want to take that skill, just make a simple landing page outlining what you're able to do, your portfolio of projects, and then start reaching out to clients on social media. This is the best lead generation that I found. You don't have to have a following. A lot of people think you have to have a following to start getting paid for your work. That's definitely not the case. A following is a great tool. It's great leverage to be able to get more leads, but you can hop on LinkedIn right away, start making a few posts and start reaching out to business owners and start to just demonstrate your skill. Go more in depth on client and lead generation in a future video, but that's kind of like the high level overview of how you can do that. Is just start reaching out to people. You're going to get no's. It's going to take time, but that is the more risky option, but you also have a higher chance to be more in control of your income. The employer route is the one that I took. So I first got a job doing SEO. I learned it. I was able to grow my career using it. And then I eventually started doing SEO consulting on the side because I leveraged that experience in the 9-to-5 to then jump off and be able to do my own thing. I find that route is a lot more attainable. I think jumping right into entrepreneurship can be difficult for people. The culture around hustle culture and these entrepreneur gurus, a lot of them don't realize that most people started with a 9-to-5. Alex Hormozi had a consulting job. Gary Vee worked at his dad's liquor store until he was 32. Dan Koh worked at a web design agency. All of these people that are super successful entrepreneurs started with a 9-to-5 that taught them the necessary skills and context to actually succeed at business. And I think that's a really important aspect that people overlook is even if you have a high value skill, you need to understand business as a whole to be able to actually make money yourself. For me, joining a 9-to-5 and actually learning that skill, learning how businesses work, how they function, all the different parts of a business, all of that was integral in me understanding how to leverage my skill, how to market my skill, how to sell my skill. All of those things were easier for me to learn actually working a 9-to-5 first, seeing it done by others, and then applying it to my own business. The added benefit of going the 9-to-5 route first is that you get paid immediately. Any of those skills, the starting salary can be anywhere from like 70 to 90K just for the entry level. Pretty great, especially if you're pivoting your career or you're right out of college. Like that is not a salary to be upset about. That is a great entry level salary. You're growing to that 6-figure valuation. It's going to take a few years, but it's almost guaranteed as long as you stick with the skill and get better with it. And that leads us to the last phase, which is get so good they can't ignore you. I'm taking that from Cal Newport's famous book on So Good They Can't Ignore You, which is a great book. I highly recommend everyone go read it. But basically the principle is that once you learn this skill, once you acquire it, once you start building some preliminary experience, you want to double down and get so good at the skill that your results speak for yourself. You no longer really have to sell yourself. You can just simply say, you can look at my track record. This is how good I am at it. These are the results I was able to achieve for myself, for someone else's business, for my clients, for my customers. And that's when you start stacking the experience and showing just how valuable you are at that given skill set. Compound this by adding other skill sets. I did this by going from SEO to a product manager. So now I work on products using SEO experience. So I have the skill of SEO and product management bridged into one, which made my earning potential significantly higher, which is where you can start to get into like skill stacking, which again, we're going to cover that in a separate video in this series. You just want to hone in on the craft. People overlook the time element to getting good at something. Yes, you can get rich fast if you just immediately jump into the skill. You might have some initial luck, but if you want to see that exponential growth, you want to see that long curve and that extreme high tail income, you're gonna have to spend the time to get there. Nothing happens as fast as people think it does. You overestimate what you can do in a year and you underestimate what you can do in 10. I'm not saying it's gonna take 10 years to get to 6 figures. If you were to start a skill today, work on it for the next 2 to 3 years, and become, a top 5, top 10% performer in that category, there's no reason why you can't be making well into the 6 figures and be able to jump off and start your own business. But it all breaks down into really becoming a top performer. And to become a top performer, you need the experience, you need the results, and you need to develop thought leadership in the industry. That doesn't mean necessarily, again, getting a huge following. It means being a voice that understands the trends, how the industry is changing, what macro trends are impacting your industry. For example, this year, most successful SEOs were the ones that stayed ahead of the AI curve. Search generative experience from Google totally rocked the industry. We saw organic traffic get destroyed across certain sites that were going for those high-level informational keywords like the how-tos and the what-ares, because people no longer needed to click into a website. Google's new search experience using AI totally shifted how that industry worked for a time being. The release of ChatGPT totally shifted how people made content. You were able to create content at scale for a 100th of what it used to cost. You used to have to hire writers, or you used to have to pay for really expensive copywriting softwares. Now ChatGPT came out for free, and the cost for content production went down significantly because you could leverage AI tools. Those were 2 huge tailwinds that totally changed the way that SEO was done in 2023. And I think it's going to continue to change it. And the people who stayed ahead of that curve and kept themselves current on those trends were the high performers of 2023 going into 2024. And they are going to capture the most value as SEO gets more expensive, as people invest more. Those are the types of people that are going to earn more. You need to be able to stay ahead, look at the trends that are impacting your industry, and start to really cultivate that deep understanding of where the industry is heading and what you need to understand to be able to be better at your job. Now, none of that can happen until you understand the fundamentals, until you've built experience, until you get those results. But once you achieve those, that's when you can really hone in on the futurist looking at your field, understanding where it's heading, and how can you capitalize most on those new trends. That's the exact framework I use to go from making no money in college to making 6 figures as a product manager at Forbes while having my own consulting business on the side. I think that anyone that repeats those steps can easily go from whatever they're making now into the 6 figures within the next 12 to 18 months, as long as you apply all the steps, you put in the time, and you're actually working on it every day and every week. This is going to be the first in a series of videos called the 0 to 6 figures track. Basically, I'm going to share all the lessons I learned over the last 3 years of my journey from making 40K out of college to making over 6 figures now. If you like this, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. There's going to be more of this content coming out every single week, and I hope to see you all in the next video.